Hey, I'm back. It's been a minute since the last video came out, or more like 2 years. Well, guess what? We're gonna pick up right where we left off. For those of you who forgot, I don't blame you. My name is Peter Nasonov, and this is Do Your Zest, your source of inspiration and actionable steps to create a vibrant business and live with incredible zest. So basically, in a nutshell, I'm talking about how to make living doing what you love, not what you hate, or what you have to do because of the circumstances or any other reasons. In the previous video, we started laying a foundation for the whole passion conversation, so it makes a lot of sense to pause this video, go watch that one, and then come back. And in case you're as excited for this video as I am and you don't want to pause or get interrupted, just want to keep watching, here is a quick recap of what I've said in the first part. We started by looking at the roots of the problem and understanding the bigger picture. We talked about conditioning, feeling stuck, authenticity, and connecting to your deep desires. I also gave you a couple of simple activities that you could perform to get the party going.
Spoiler alert, this video is gonna be lengthy, but I promise I'll do my best to make it worthy of your time.
So, as you remember, passion is a blend of discovery and creation. So let's keep peeling those layers of discovery and talk more about it. In this episode, you're gonna get that powerful distinction that I mentioned in the part 1. It certainly helped me with understanding my natural tendencies and inclinations, things that are easy and effortless, things that make me feel empowered and at my best. And passion is just like that. It's not like one and only thing in the whole world. No, it's more like 50 shades of gray. Remember my childhood story? Well, let me remind you and then we'll see if you can relate. I wanted to become a pilot, but really, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew what I liked, and those things were changing while I was growing up. I really liked flowers and houseplants, and it got crazy at some point. We had over 100 of them. Then I got into aquariums. Then I decided that I was gonna play piano for the rest of my life. That never happened. So my interests were evolving, and if there was one thing I was sure of, it was this. I was very different from my brothers.
Oh yes, by the way, I have 2 brothers.
I knew I could never be like them, and I've actually tried. My youngest brother was a great soccer player. He was even a part of the team that competed in national championships. Guess how long I lasted after joining the training?
2 months.
I pushed myself as hard as I could. Not only was I lacking certain physical characteristics, I simply didn't have that much muscle and strength in my legs.
I mean, my legs are fine, but they're not gonna provide me with a world-class performance.
And another thing, I really wasn't interested. In fact, I was bored. I'm pretty sure you've been through something like that before. Think back to when you were at school. Even then, there were disciplines that you were just getting easily and effortlessly without paying even much attention or much preparation. You were just getting it. In those classes, time flew by, while in others, it felt like eternity. Those were not necessarily your passions because they were affected by different factors like teachers, schools if you were attending several of them, friendships, hormones that started hijacking your intelligence at a certain age. Well, you get the point. All I'm saying that there were things that were easy and fun, and those are the clues we are after. World can be a great place. It can be a place where you get to be challenged just in the way you like to be challenged, where you get to make the kind of difference only you can make. Unfortunately, the research shows that only 2 out of 10 people get to live like that. And if you follow the path of the remaining 8, then one day you're gonna find yourself at a job where you really don't feel engaged or excited, where you're just putting in the hours until the weekend comes, where you really don't care, or worse, where you feel burned out, drained, exhausted, trapped, ultimately living second version of someone else's life. Not even yours, because you never wanted this for yourself in your dreams in the first place. Question is, how do you avoid becoming one of those bitter folks? How do you get to build that kind of passionate life you're dreaming of? Well, in order to do that, we'd have to blow up a couple of myths. Myth number 1, As you grow older, your personality changes. The opposite is actually true. I'm not saying people don't change, sometimes they do, but hear me out on this. If you are great at making friends right now, you are gonna be even greater at making friends in 20 years. If you are a clean freak now, you are gonna be an even cleaner freak at 50 or 60 or later. If you are an idea man, it's very, very likely that you will be an idea man for the rest of your life. Our dreams may change, our skills may change, our values may change, even some of our beliefs may and will change, but the core of you will remain the same. If our inclinations and tendencies will remain pretty much the same throughout the course of our lives, it makes a lot of sense to find out what they are. We've been raised to believe that our strengths are something that we're good at and our weaknesses is something that we're bad at. But that's not so. I mean, think about it. You've got some stuff that you're really good at that you hate doing. What do you call it when nature gave you a ton of ability but no appetite at all? When the thought of doing something you could just nail bores you to death or worse, makes you anxious. Is that a strength? So you know I sing.
You didn't know? Well, now you do.
So a few years ago, I was sitting in a class looking at my teacher's process while she was working with other vocalists. At that time, I was far from having a solid technique. And maybe I'm still far now. You know what started happening? More and more often, she started turning back to me, asking me to explain to another student what they were doing wrong. That's because I could hear everything without even a special training. After a while, she started saying that I was so good that I should just become a music critic or a voice teacher.
Maybe I wasn't that good a singer.
But anyway, I knew in my guts that I didn't want to do any of those things for living. So what do you call this? This awesome hearing talent. In this framework where we are trying to find passion that we would be excited to work on and make living off of, that would be called a weakness. And of course, a strength would be the opposite. You need to pay incredibly close attention to how you feel before, during, and after an activity, because those are the best clues towards your strengths. If before performing an activity, you find yourself looking forward to it, that's a sign of strength. During, you're in the zone, time flies, and after you feel fulfilled or even jazzed, those are sure signs of strength. Muy importante. Here's what you can and should do. Go on a week-long self-discovery adventure. Every time you find yourself looking forward to something, jot it down. You can use a notebook app in your phone or just plain pen and paper. Anytime you find yourself being in the zone, thoroughly enjoying the process, take a note of that. And every time you find yourself enthused after performing an activity, note that too. The important thing is that you do it right there in the moment. Be descriptive, be vivid and specific. Don't wait until the end of the day or end of the week to write it all down. You'll be too vague then. The most important thing in this exercise is to take note right in that moment. Try to use lots of actionable verbs. For example, I felt strong when I helped an elderly lady cross the street, or I felt empowered when I organized my desk. Then in the end of the week, you have a long list of activities. Just scan through and pick 3. Those are the best clues to your strengths. Now, you might be saying, what about being a well-rounded person? Let's see about that. Here's a myth number 2 we're about to demystify. This is a myth of being a very well-rounded person. If you want to get ahead, you gotta figure out what you're not good at and fix it, right?
Wrong.
Remember when you would come back to school with 2 A's, a B, and an F? Everyone, parents and a teacher, what would they focus on? The F! And at work, I remember going to my first performance review and my boss spending about a couple of minutes saying what I did well and really drilled down for the rest of like an hour telling me what needed to be fixed. And of course, what needed to be fixed were my weaknesses. The point here isn't to ignore them. No, you can't ignore the F at school just like you can't ignore your weaknesses at work. But if you focus your time, fixing your weaknesses, I can assure you, you'll never really grow much in those areas, nor will you feel particularly passionate. You're gonna improve most, grow most, learn most, develop most, bounce back fastest when you're working on your strengths. You'll be most productive, effective, resilient, and joyful when you figure out how to play to your strengths. Think about the most successful and effective people you know. Don't they seem to spend a whole lot of time doing what they love? And you think to yourself, how the heck do you find this thing that fits you so perfectly? The truth is, of course, they built it gradually by dedicating more and more time doing the things that energize and motivate them and staying away from those dreadful things until one day the best of their job became the most of their job. You gotta deliberately push your time towards working on your strengths. It can be as simple as focusing on one single strength you are going to be working on this particular week. I know, it's hard to stick to your guns in a world with so much prejudice. When everyone tells you what you should do, what education you should get, what job you should try and get to make it in life, it takes a strong person to hold your ground. And I must say, there is risk to this journey. I never said that passionate life was safe or secure, quite the opposite in fact. You might be misunderstood and criticized and lacking support. In fact, it's very likely. Anything and everything will try to derail you. Just about when you get clear on who you are and what you want to do with your life, the universe will start challenging you. Unexpectedly, you'll get that raise at work you've been dreaming of. Only now you know that that was maybe someone else's dream and your own vision is different. And if you're not careful, you may wind up being overly promoted, believe it or not, in a job that you never wanted in the first place. Some would say it's a nice problem to have. Believe me, it's not. I've seen too many people who are now working as vice presidents of companies, for example, getting a very generous pay, and yet they don't feel that this is it. Unfortunately, at some point in their lives, they've bought into these myths that we've just demystified. Here is a question that I have for you. Do you think that at some point in life, the risk of remaining a bud will be greater than the risk of blossoming? You've got strengths and no one else has quite the same configuration. Let tomorrow begin with you looking into the mirror and saying, let me today play to my strengths, and then go and do it. Isn't this a perfect moment to wrap up this video?
I think so.
In the next video, I'll continue talking about passion and I'll share an awesome tool that will propel you in your journey towards discovering your passion. Until then, go do your homework, get on that week-long self-discovery adventure and see what you can learn about yourself.
But before you go, leave a comment below.
Let me know, maybe you already know your strengths. If you found this video useful, please be kind and thoughtful and share it with a few of your friends. They'll appreciate it. And subscribe to my channel too. That's it for today. Keep rocking and bring that incredible zest in everything you do. Thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.